And welcome to class, everybody. Today's Monday, July the 6th. Just coming off of the long holiday weekend. Hope everybody had a great time. I know I gave you an additional day to turn in your Session 7 and Session 8 assignments, so if you're seeing this and you're not quite finished, you've got until 11:59 tonight to turn them in. Several of you have turned them in already, and one person has already turned in their bibliography, which is excellent. But let's take a look at Sessions 9 and 10. Those are the ones that are due for this week, and see what we have to do. I think there's a little bit less writing this time, but more reading. There was never a session where you have all reading and no writing, and all writing and no reading, except maybe at the very end. But I don't think this one's too bad. We are working on Writing Project 3. So we're in Session 9 folder, and let's see what's there. Of course, first we have the overview. And this session, especially Session 9, is designed to get you with a good start on Writing Project 3. In fact, you're just going to be writing an introduction. So there are two chapters to be read in the textbook, Chapter 15 and Chapter 17. We're going to follow steps 1 through 6 for Writing Project 3, as we always do. There's a PowerPoint on Be a Detective, supplemental link on audience awareness, and a supplemental resource video on don't start your sentence that way. I can tell you for myself and probably every other writing instructor, when we read the first one or two sentences of an essay and it really grabs your attention because it has an interesting or unusual opening, we're in a good mood already. And when we're in a good mood, we give good grades, right? Under assignments and assessments, there's a discussion board on warming up the audience, which is exactly what I'm talking about. And you're going to turn in the first draft of Writing Project 3, which is based on the bibliography and the project or the idea that you're going to be researching. And here's a little hint: when we get to Writing Project 4, you're sticking with the same subject. So choose carefully. Whatever you choose for Writing Project 3, you may not be writing exactly the same thing, but you're going to be writing about the same subject. So let's take a look at the learning activities, which we just kind of listed, but this is a little more detail. There's the two textbook chapters, and Writing Project 3, steps 1 through 6. So let's take a look. We kind of briefly touched on these in the last video that I recorded. Finally. And I want to emphasize for Writing Project 3, this is supposed to be an essay that does not have any personal opinion in it. You're writing to persuade an audience you invent, or a real audience that you're writing for. But it's not intended to contain any personal opinion. You're laying out the facts, and the facts alone. And as you begin to write this, you're not writing for me, you're not writing for the other people in the class, you're writing for that audience. So what you come up with is going to be tailored to that audience. As I mentioned on the other video for Session 7 and Session 8, if you're writing for an audience of high school students, you're going to use one sort of language. If you're writing for an audience of professional people, you're going to take a different approach. So as you construct, keep the audience in mind at all times. This is just a draft, it's not your final. And it's going to be, for your draft, 1,000 words, 1250 at the end. And everybody's been really good, for the most part, at hitting the word count. Speaking of which, I'm getting ready to start grading the final version of essay number 2. And I'll tell you, one of the first things I do when I open up an essay is I hit the F7 key. I may have mentioned this before, so excuse me if I am, but F7 is spelling and grammar check. So if you know that the first thing I'm going to do is hit F7 and have Microsoft Word check for spelling and grammar, the last thing you should do before you turn it in is you should hit F7 too. That way you beat me to the punch. It'll catch things. If you have the wrong tense in a verb, we all have typos from time to time where when we reread it, it looks perfect to us, but it's still a typo. If you know I'm going to use it, go ahead and use it yourself. Go ahead and get all those cleaned up. That way when I hit F7 and it comes back, no errors found, well, I love you already. I won't read through this whole thing. I know you will. I recommend you print it out. But what you're going to write for Writing Project 3 is based on the bibliography that you have constructed. I think as of today, Monday the 6th, there's one bibliography that's been turned in, and I thought it was pretty good. I haven't put a grade on it yet, haven't even read through it in depth, but at least in my cursory glance, it looked great. There's a PowerPoint on the informative essay, Be a Detective. I'm not going to open this now because I want to keep these kind of short. Make sure you look through this. It will be helpful. And there are 2 additional resources, audience awareness and supplemental. Although they're both not listed as supplemental resources, I think they are. If you think you need some help in this area, go ahead and look through them. If you think you're good on it, well, then you're good on it. It's up to you. We're all adults here. You make your own choices. Let's go to assignments and assessments. Discussion board. Session 9 and session 10. Obviously, because we do 2 sessions a week, we're going to finish this off. So your initial post and your responses. Here's what it asks you to do. Identify 2 specific audiences who could or should be interested in your topic. And then write an opening. Excuse me, got a little ahead of myself. Give me 3 or 4 sentences to describe that audience. What is it important about them that I should know? What research is relevant to that audience? What are their concerns? What are their characteristics? Are they all the same by age? Are they all the same by education? Tell me who is the audience you are going to appeal to in Writing Project 3. And then for the second part, you're going to write 2 brief introductions. Now these should be 2 audiences that both care about your subject or should be caring about your subject. And you're going to write 2 introductions for each audience. So if one audience is high school students and one is college educated people, well, then you're going to write 2 different approaches to the same subject based on that audience. So you're going to give me 2. Sorry, my phone was ringing. It's embarrassing. I usually turn my phone off. And your post should be about 200 words. So a couple of sentences, who are your 2 audiences, and then introduce the subject to each of those 2 audiences using a different approach. Will the approaches be dramatically different? Probably not, but sorry, my phone was ringing again. I gotta turn that thing off. And then you're going to turn in your first draft of Writing Project 3. Following steps 1 through 6. Remember, this is based on your bibliography. It's only 15 points. It's really designed so I can give you some feedback and tell you if you're on the right path. Stupid phone. I'm going to throw my phone away. It's ringing again. Once you've finished your first draft, you're going to post it in Writing Project 3 Peer Response Board. And that way everybody can have a look at it. I will look at it, I will read it, I will give you feedback, and then everyone else in the class will as well. see if that is everything for session 9. Alright, let's take a look one more time. We have 2 chapters to read, as you can see here. Chapter 15 and Chapter 17. Writing Project 3, you're going to follow steps only 1 through 6, and we are just writing a draft. There's a PowerPoint on the informative essay, and 2 supplemental resources, audience awareness, and a video on Don't Start Your Sentence That Way. To finish off session 9, you're going to work on discussion board 9 and 10, warming up the audience, which is your initial post, and then work on your first draft of Writing Project 3, following only steps 1 through 6. And to recap for assignments and assessments, write your initial post for session 9 based on the information here, describing your audience and 2 approaches to them. Turn in your first draft of Writing Project 3, submission 1, and you're also going to post it into a discussion board for everybody else to give you feedback. That is it for the video for session 9. Hope everybody had a great 4th of July. As I mentioned previously, reach out to me anytime. 800-416-1747 is my voice number. Text number 812-498-4200, and my email address is always mstenger and the number 1 at ivytech.edu. I'll catch you on the next video. Thanks, everybody.